In high school coaching, a lot of the good stories come after the game. Sit back, watch, and listen to the journeys to the sideline and the stories of high school coaches. After the game, presented by Baker Sports and High School 912.
Welcome to After the Game. I'm Josh Baker, along with my trusty co-host, Coach Kevin Sullivan here. And,
yes,
Coach,
sir.
Today we got a special guest for the show.
Yes, sir. We got Chris Foy from Oakleaf High School.
Yes.
Longtime Duval County legend.
Yeah.
Legend.
Not only coaches here, but played here as well,
Yes,
right?
I did. Yes, I did. I played at Andrew Jackson from 88 to 90.
I was not the coach then, by the way, just so you know, I'm not that old.
But you were coaching then.
Yes, I was.
Hey, I was the old hiker. You know, right, when I played, you didn't play center. You played the hiker.
That's right.
Hiker. I did all the hiking responsibility. Long snap, PAT snap, just the hiker. Just, you know, the guy everybody picked last. But you had you got the most important job of every play.
That's right.
Yeah.
You had to remember to count every play.
Hey, man, it was on me.
Yep.
It was on me.
And you also got to be the smartest guy as far as I'm concerned at center.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I was that one, but I got the count right.
There you go.
Now, who did you play for? Who was your coach at Jackson?
Coach Kincaid. I played with Kincaid and Ellis McSwain. He was one of our assistants, and I think he was the dean of boys at the time. But it was some really strong figures when I came through.
Yeah, and that just did that go into you wanting to coach in the future?
Absolutely.
You knew it at an early age?
Absolutely. I had two coaches I remember. I had Coach Michael Jackson, who was also my science teacher, and he Coach, were you at Jackson when the big guy, Coach, he taught algebra? It was a Booker T.
Oh, yeah, he was there for 45 years or something.
Yes. So those guys influenced me because they wasn't PE coaches.
Right.
And so I was a science teacher for 25 years. I'm going on year 30 this year. So I didn't become a PE coach until when you hired me at Jackson that year. But that was my first time. So I always was amazed that I had coaches who were classroom guys and who had – so they really approached the game with a lot of intelligence. And I can remember Coach Washington, man. He could get on the board and he could write with both hands and he could solve an equation in the middle. I always thought that was so cool.
Yeah, when I got to Jackson, he was the encyclopedia record guy.
Yeah,
like he'd be like, "Oh, coach, he just rushed for 275 yards. That's second on the all-time list at Andrew Jackson." Isn't that wild?
Wow.
Yeah, so he coached my JV the first couple of years.
He was yoked.
Yes.
Though. Yeah, he was a yoke guy too.
Yeah, you're pretty yoked too, Coach. But yeah, Coach Booker T. Hill.
Yes, Booker T. Hill.
So playing days are done at Jackson.
Yes.
What's next?
Well, I got with Coach Simmons, Coach Jackie Simmons. He sent me to Fayetteville State.
Okay.
We both went to the same school, and because he graduated from Jackson, and I went up to Fayetteville State, and that was his alma mater, and I did, I guess, fairly well. I'm hoping to be on the Hall of Fame list this year.
Okay.
But did well. I mean, made all conference every year.
As
a hiker.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, the name of the position changed.
Yes.
My junior year.
There you go.
I became a center.
Well, making all conference is a big deal because there's 2 guards, 2 tackles. There's only 1 hiker.
It's only 1 hiker.
So you were the man.
Yes. Well, I don't want to say. Yeah, I was the man, Coach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first coaching job outside of college?
Actually, Landmark Middle School. Landmark Middle School. I graduated as a young. I wasn't even 22 yet. I was turning 22 when I got out of college, and Coach Mitchell, Dwayne Mitchell, was at Jackson, and he asked me. He said, "Hey, you want to come coach?" I said, "Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just left this place. Started as a freshman, and now I'm done, and I'll come back." And I said, "Hey, Coach, how old are the students and the girls here in high school?" He said, "They can be the 19." I said, "I'm just about to turn 22." That's not a good idea.
No.
So I want to go where the kids are younger.
Right.
I want to go where and coach, it was an incredible. I might have stayed there too long. I stayed there like 17 years.
Well, I love this part of your story.
Yeah, it was.
I love the part where you were a head coach right out the gate. Developed at a young age, saw all these kids go on, saw their success they had, saw some mistakes that some made.
Oh yeah.
And kind of got to watch a lot of Friday nights across the city going and watching your kids.
Yes.
Before you stepped on the Friday
It taught
nights.
me a valuable lesson. One, never underestimate the effort of what we call a wide-eyed child. Kids who they bust their butts for you all week and they practice hard and they believe in what you're saying. And then Friday night, you say, okay, son, I need you to go out there and do something. And their eyes are this big. Yes, sir, coach. I'm ready, coach. I'm ready.
Deer in the headlights.
Yes, and they are. Their eyes are wide, and they'll give you all the effort out there. And in middle school, it's like that. You have to believe in development. One of the guys I actually officiated his wedding last week in Jamaica. We call him Bubba Horn. Well, Bubba played for me in middle school, and now he's my offensive line coach and my run coordinator. And I could remember when he was in 7th grade, he was so young, I used to actually pull his teeth during practice. We would wrap him up and give him to his mom, and he was still putting his teeth. But with development, you in middle school, you get a kid, he might be 4 foot nothing in the 7th grade. Bubba grew like 11 inches from 7th to 8th grade. So you might want to be careful how you treat those kids who don't quite have it yet.
Right.
You spend some time with them and you put them in a decent program, and you kind of structure their time. They can become pretty special, and he was one. I mean, DeMarcus was a receiver in the beginning, and it's wild stories for all those guys. But yeah, I really enjoyed that time.
Yeah, and that's cool. Something you talk about there. We had C4 on, we had Ciatric on not too long ago, and there's not too many Ciatrics, right? That are man-child in the 6th, 7th grade.
No, when I was at Landmark, he was at Mayport.
Right.
Okay, and I can remember schools trying to they wanted them to forfeit their games because Ciatric was playing in the 6th grade.
Right.
And 6th graders wasn't allowed to play at the time.
Right.
And he was dunking the basketball.
Yeah.
He was better than everybody in every sport.
Right. But there's not many of those.
No.
So what you have to do is see the heart, see the effort, see what the kid's really made of, and project what the body's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, rather Coach, if you take all the other stuff you named first, sometimes the body, it's not that big a deal, Coach.
Yep.
To be honest with you, it is that you get a kid who loves something other than themselves. For example, people want to talk about just how good a teammate Ciatric was. He really, everybody. And those guys are pretty special too, even though they have everything. They got the size, they got all the talent. But those guys, he was really a great person. He's always been
Yeah, phenomenal guy and a great show we had with him.
Yeah, we had a good show.
Very good show.
You got to check that out if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So talk about some of the guys that you had at Landmark.
Oh man, so if you
had
go
a
back
bunch.
to my wife, she's amazed at because I've always group kids as a coach by the year.
Right,
Okay,
that's how I do it.
So it's the 9-10 guys. Okay, so we could only keep 43 kids on the team because we only had 43 uniforms.
Right.
And out of that 43, like 31 played college football.
Right.
There were 4 professionals, and then 7 professional counting.
Right.
NBA.
You could say who they are if you want.
I mean, there's DeAndre Johnson. There's DeMarcus Walker. Kane Dodd plays some football, and Donald Rocker plays some cane ball. Sean Reed Foley. What a quarterback room I had.
Pitching.
Yeah, what a quarterback room. Hey, DeAndre was a 7th grader. Sean was in the 8th grade, and said, well, that guy's pretty good. He said, yeah, he's pretty. But in a year, DeAndre comes and shattered all the records for the state. So DeAndre played behind Sean Reed Foley.
Who's pitching with the Mets.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean that's
with the big Mets.
Yes.
Yeah, with the big Mets. And so we ended up having, but it was like 9 All-Americans.
That's
on that
awesome.
team. And I mean, so many of them just went to school, and so it's it was a big hoot. We never got scored on. We won like every game for like 9 years.
You were accused of recruiting because you're winning.
Coach. Hey, I was accused of all kinds. I said, hey, don't you think if I'm recruiting kids, why not? I didn't even live on this side of town.
I know.
I was driving over an hour. I was driving over an hour to get to work for my first 25 years.
That's crazy.
This is the first time I can get to work in 7 minutes, and I can get home in maybe 10 because I get a little bit more.
Right.
I live 6 minutes away from Oakleaf.
You talk about the recruiting piece of it, though. But the rumor was that if you needed any varsity head coach on was it Tuesday night you play? Was it Tuesday night y'all play?
Yes,
on
yes.
Tuesday you just go to Foy's
they
game.
were there
because they were all there. They all wanted to be seen on Tuesday night.
We hosted them a couple times on Main Street when I was there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was some good guys down the street. You had some good guys at Kirby.
Yeah.
Really good guys. I mean, because Marty say loaded.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So great years there.
Yes.
You decide, all right, it's time to move on.
We get the little article. God, if I could remember that guy who wrote that article when we were, it was like my next to last year at Landmark, and he couldn't put it in the sports section because middle school sports are not considered sports, in Duval. So he put it in the lifestyle, and it makes like national news. And so Joe Reynolds come and said, "Hey, I bought you a picture. I bought you a copy of your article." I said, "Man, I think it's becoming time. It had become kind of difficult." And I kind of got the feeling that the district was really ready to kind of. It's the year I left. Now all of a sudden you got the middle school city championship. You got all kinds. And I said, "Roger, why?" He was like, "Man, we want to give everybody a fair shot."
Right.
So I said, "Man, I think I'm ready." And I went probably to the best place I could go. I went to Fletcher.
Right.
A place, working for Josh and Coach Reynolds and Kevin Brown. Those guys were so established. You figured out that all the middle school hype, all those things were middle school.
Right.
And 80% of what happens on Friday is really done Monday through Wednesday.
Right.
And so that I've always been very grateful for those guys because they taught me what it's like to try to run.
Right. And a staff that stayed together. Right?
Yes.
There wasn't a whole lot of turnover in that staff, so you got to learn consistently.
Oh yeah. With Coach Medlock, and it was that staff I think stayed together for like 35 years.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of years.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, until he called, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be. I had actually Kevin Brown had nominated me to become for the FACA
assistant
coach thing, and I had to be there for 10 years, and I was on year 9, and I was fine. There's just so many great places to eat. Oh gosh, Coach, it was just fantastic. It was so many great places to eat, so many things to do, and I was content. I would be an assistant coach. I was strength coach and a defensive line, and I was content with that. And get the call. Hey, and Joe, Reynolds used to actually make certain, say, okay, I want you to go to this interview. You don't want people to think you just.
Right.
I was okay with it. He said, so, he would actually make and schedule them for me. Because I needed to have the practice. To have
for when the one you wanted came around.
Well, I don't know. Coach, I was a block from the beach. An outdoor weight room, and if me and Kevin can tell you about the first time we met up to the stadium, no, it was not. It was not the one.
It's not ideal.
And so this time it was a little different because Reynolds, he put me in his golf cart and said, "Hey, we need to sit down. I think you gotta consider this one." It wasn't necessarily the the place. I hadn't met any of the kids yet. It was understanding that me and Kevin shared a vision. We did it, and that's how I got back to Main Street, and that kind of propelled me for the job I'm in now.
Right. And now you're making this call as you're leaving, right?
As the AD. Well, I stayed a year. Basically, I had a year and a half.
Right.
And Coach knew up front when I called him. So what we were trying to do, because it had been about 10 years, 9 years since basically winning seasons on Main Street since I had left.
Since you had left and went to
Atlantic Coast.
Right.
And so I had gone back as the AD. And so when the principal said, hey, we're going to make a change, you need to hire the coach. And, oh, by the way, you're the AD too. So I basically made one call. I called Joe, and I said, hey, Foy ready. And then we talked for a while, and he was like, yeah, he's ready, blah, blah, blah. It'd be a perfect job for him. And he's an alumni, and that's what I thought was important. And then it was the most important thing I thought was that the relationship with the kids. And Coach and I didn't have, like, any kind of deep history together besides we'd seen and we may have talked, and there's a lot of mutual respect.
Oh, yeah.
But being a alumni and being a guy with a vision that the weight room is the most important part of your program, and that's what we always emphasized when I was there, I thought it would be a no-brainer. And then he came to the field one night during soccer.
We went in and we said, it felt like, and for one, my heart went out to Kevin. It was, could you imagine building a house and, for years and putting all of your effort and resources and time into it, and then you leave and you come back and it's exactly the way you left it, but just hadn't been maintained.
Twice.
That was, the weights he had left there,
right?
The things he had, you have. As a coach, you do a lot of things by hand now.
The worst part was when I found the district championship banner.
Oh, yeah.
Underneath the stadium, rolled up with mildew and algae all over it.
Yeah.
I was crushed. Like, we'd put that up, it had gone, and it was underneath the stadium. And that was the worst part. And when I showed Coach was like, are you kidding me? And I was like.
And we got it all refurbished.
Yep.
And now it's still, as a matter of fact, the year when we won the district championship, we used that banner to put, and it's the actual same banner, to put that year on it. So it was a lot of fun, man. It was a whole lot of fun. Now, what Kev, now, all those guys I just named, I thought they were the dumbest scheduling people I've ever seen. So every time we would play Kevin, we would play Atlantic Coast, and I was at Fletcher. The carnage was the number of kids, the games were so physical.
Yeah.
And I would say, Coach, why in the world are we playing it so early in the year?
Right.
We would lose 4 or 5 kids apiece.
Right.
It was such a physical game, and they would always go to overtime.
Overtime, I had 3 of them in like 4 years or something like that.
And the 3 years I coached against you, the difference was maybe 8 points.
Yeah.
They were big-time games, man, but they were physical. It was you would lose some kids that night, and the kids played their heart out.
Right.
They would play their heart out.
That became a little bit of a rivalry pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because we got some of those kids.
Right.
So some of those kids that lived on the other side of the canal, or the intercoastal, actually, they could have stayed or come. And so we did get some. We didn't get any of the really great ones. We got some good ones. But, so we had a natural rival. We always thought they were a little bit more of a rival than Sandalwood. Just because I think the coaching staff maybe was a little bit more. We had played. I played Fletcher like 18 times at Jackson. Yeah. I played him every year. It didn't matter.
Like your first game or something?
Yeah, my first game we played him. And so we always had a really good relationship. Kevin Brown had a great relationship. Joe and I still do.
Coach, it was so interesting. You go into that week, you would think they all just absolutely hate each other. It's like, God, Sullivan was that bad, Oh, Coach, I can't. And Kevin would say he couldn't stand him, and then they would all get at the game. And the kids, Coach, it was, you knew if you stepped the wrong way, if you did anything moderately incorrect, that might have cost you the game.
Right.
And after the game, you would think it was like a class reunion.
Yeah.
That was to me what was the most impressive thing. I had heard all these great things about what I was supposed to be and who I was in the middle school realm. And I sit in a room, and now I'm in a room with like 10 guys, and it's like 150 years of coaching experience.
Right.
You know what you're doing in a situation like that?
Listen.
Shut up and listen.
That's right. Sit over there and listen.
Yes.
I was laughing a second ago when you were talking about Coach Reynolds getting you in the golf cart. We need to talk.
Yeah.
Because when he says that, because I've had these conversations before, because Joe's all over the place normally.
Yes. Right.
But when he dials in and says, we need to talk, like, oh,
yes.
I'm going to listen now.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to listen.
Yeah, he gets your attention.
Yeah. And obviously it worked.
Oh, yeah.
Head over to Jackson.
Yes, go over to Jackson. And knowing I have a year and a half with Kevin. And when people say, well, how did the success come so fast? And when you had a resource like, even if it was something as simple as, let me bump this idea off. It's hard when you don't have that kind of.
Right.
It's difficult. You get an administration sometimes, and they want the best for you, and you will go into places and they'll ask you, what do you need? That's a huge question. What do we need first? Have somebody I could, what'd you do?
Right.
Down to the, I even where I am now, I designed my helmet exactly the way he taught me.
Yeah. Because you go into it, and that's a big question, right? Is when you're hired. What do you need, coach? Well, normally you don't know. And by the time you know, the honeymoon's over and you ain't getting it. But to go in and have the guy that had done it at that place tell you, here's what I did, here's what you need.
Had done it in about the same capacity when he got there.
Yeah,
it wasn't very good. I mean, we came in the door, but we had 30 helmets.
Yeah, it was bad.
And so how would when people felt like, what is it that boy's doing? He's working. I'm like, you guys have no clue. How would you feel going into a situation where the possibility that we're going to have kids running on the field, handing off a helmet to another kid? He could have just said, that's them.
Yeah.
Let it go. No, he stepped in and he went to battle. He went to war, and that's what brought about the change.
Yeah, and the beauty of it was, with the exception of one game, I told Coach from the very beginning, I'm never going to say anything to you. I'm not going to give you any advice unless you ask me, and then I will give you my advice. You got to learn and you got to build. With the exception of one game.
One game. Hey, it was the biggest game of my first. We're playing Markey's boys. We're playing Episcopal, which was a huge. See, every game we played, the first year, it was kind of getting kids to understand. It was culture. It was a culture shift.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how many kids do you have first year one?
Oh, we had.
Yeah, good numbers, decent numbers.
45, 50 on the varsity, right?
Okay.
45, 50.
We had
so that wasn't a problem.
A lot of young
kids wanted to play.
A lot of young kids.
We had a JV team, but the problem was the teams that we would play the year before, they beat us really bad.
Right. Of course, they want to keep playing.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We don't ever want to duck.
Right.
What they say, we don't duck smoke now. And so I wanted my kids to expect, because we were young too. Especially, hey man, let's go back and face them. So it was. I can remember we was and Rodney DeBose is my AD now.
Right.
And we go over to and they had boys. They were loaded.
West Side, right?
Yeah, West Side. Yeah. And we stand up and we had a shot in that game, and I'm like torn up. Really want. And we leave the field, and the parents are giving us a standing ovation. Like, it's not the
right.
It's not the point. We got to get our kids to believe they can win. And it was that night we were playing Episcopal, and that beat us 63-0 the year before. And we stuck them pretty good though. But they would run, and I said they had Nick Elkness,
the big tight end.
Yeah.
How can I get help with him when he's attached to the line and he's better than every end I have?
Right.
And then I don't want to get him rolling because I didn't really have anybody who could run with that guy.
Mm-hmm. Certainly not anybody near that size.
Not near that size. Well, we had a guy. We had Matt Merritt. We had Matt
Right.
Merritt was 6'4".
Right.
You know, he was a good size. He was a great athlete, and he could deal with him. But if he was attached, he couldn't deal with him on the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And so Kev, I know he's that secret. He said, "Hey, just take your end,
Move him outside.
and just switch them." What do you mean? I can switch and put the defensive end. He said, "No. Just leave a gap.
Leave a gap and make
Leave
him
a gap.
declare. So the end went out to the 9, and Matt stepped inside.
Yep.
And so when he blocked down,
He blocked down.
he
would
came
go.
and played. And when he released a run, he covered him.
I use it to this day. I call it Eagle because Episcopal were the Eagles. I never
Right.
forget that game. I still
Yeah.
call it Eagle. They were the Golden Eagles. I use it to this day.
And my son's with me at the game. We're watching the game. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I got to tell Coach. I can't sit here and not tell Coach." He goes, "All right, here we go."
Here we go.
That's what my son said.
It was Tammy that night who said, "You can't do that."
Yes.
I turned around and goes, "Please,
Yeah.
let him
You
help
can't go
me."
in there and tell him.
Let
I go,
him
"We're not-"
help me.
I said, "We're not going to lose this
Yeah,
game."
let him help
for
me.
one little adjustment. So
Man, it
that was the only time I ever did anything really without being asked.
Well, coming from such a traditional,
Right.
system at Fletcher, it was, Kevin Brown's cover 5 is
Right.
Kevin Brown's cover 5. And to get to a spot where we had the athlete that you could make changes, and all of when you look at the end was Jeremiah Lovely.
Right.
He plays at Gannon University now, and Matt ended up going to Southeastern. And did we know at the time we even had, because we hadn't had a kid go to college since
Yeah. Wow.
his year. So the idea of beating a team that beat you so bad the year before, and
Right.
the idea, you can,
Program changer.
yes,
Yeah.
Culture changer, program changer.
yes. That's year one.
All right. Before we get into the good years, we got to take a little time out. More with Coach Foy when we come back on After the Game.
There you go. About $2,500 for Jackson. That'll work. I'm telling you. We could use it. Thank you so much, Coach.
In 2021, Christopher Foy was named our Friday Night Blitz Coach of the Year in partnership with Whataburger and Jaguars Prep. He received a $2,500 check for the Jackson program and also tickets to the Super Bowl in February. Why that season was such a challenging one when After the Game continues with Oakleaf coach Christopher Foy and Josh Baker and Kevin Sullivan. In high school coaching, a lot of the good stories come after the game. Sit back, watch, and listen to the journeys to the sideline and the stories of high school coaches. After the Game, presented by Baker Sports and High School 912.
Welcome back. Got more here with Coach Foy. So we're just getting into finished year one of the Jackson days. All right. So you got a guy joining you on year 2, right? So your son comes up year 2, right? Yeah. So you're built-in stud. Your best recruiting job you did.
Yeah, yes. Well, that's a funny story too. That's a funny story because Jackson is a magnet school,
Right.
and so I get a call from Rodney DeBose, who's my neighbor,
Okay.
and he's the head coach over at Westside,
Right.
and he's my
Now
AD,
he's your AD,
He's
yeah.
my AD over at Oakleaf, and he calls and says, "Hey, man, I'm going to turn you in if you continue to recruit my players." I said, "Rodney, what are you?" He says, "No, there's a kid that lives in my neighborhood. And he's enrolled in my school, and you're recruiting him." I said, "Who are you talking about?" He says, "His dude's Christopher Foy II." He said, "I done all of this stuff to get kids, in school in our magnet program. Man, my wife had it. She said, you've done all this for these other kids. You hadn't gotten your own son enrolled." Hey, he came in the second year. He came in as a freshman, and that was really the year we started building what I would consider a stable program, because we had a really good that JV team. It beat everybody
Right.
that year. We had a really good. Because the guys had gotten used to, we had a winning season that first year, and we, even though they had the little mock playoff thing where all you had to do was
that was 2020.
2020, and coach signed us up for it, and because we actually would have made the top 8, but we ended up playing
Florida High, right?
Florida.
And it was good though.
Yeah,
it
showed us
just to show the kids what it takes.
Absolutely.
You want to go to college, you got to play against kids that are going to college.
That's right. You talk about that JV team. I don't know if you remember this or not.
Yes, I do.
But
Yes,
I got somehow stuck in JV chain crew, coach.
That's got to be fun.
And I hope she's not listening, but it was either that or sit up there with all my family and watch. So I was on the sideline.
Do you remember the weather that night, though?
The weather was brutal.
It was tough.
I was actually doing the chains barefoot because it was puddles all over.
That's right. I remember that.
Puddles. Yep. So I tell this story all the time. I'm like, I did chains there 2 years JV, 2 years of varsity while my boys were playing. Mm-hmm. And the best sideline, the most well-mannered, disciplined sideline that I was ever on was Jackson's JV.
Oh, thanks.
And I'll give you this comment. I'll say it on air. You did the best job of any varsity head coach that I was around during a JV game. You sat back, kind of like Coach was saying. You didn't give advice unless it was asked for. Mm-hmm. You would go talk to individual kids to calm them down or get them where they need to be. But you let your coaches coach unless it was, and I wanted to compliment you. I thought that was a great job that night. And you won.
Yeah, but hey, you get a chance that year. It's nothing better. And I guarantee you, ask any coach, it's nothing better than being a cheerleader.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good time, man. It's one of the I've had the pleasure of not coaching my son like forever because I've always put him around good people and say, hey, man, you're gonna have to. For example, and I have to give Coach this credit. Him and Coach Marcus Miller. When we got to because if you know Papa Miller, who coached and he coached forever, but he could relate to my son, because. We always call them, these are the truck sleepers. That's what they call them up. That's the coach's kids. Mm-hmm. Those are the kids who, Dad's still talking. Mm-hmm. He's still in the meeting. He's not done yet. They sleep in the truck.
Right.
Sleep in the truck. They get up and walk to school in the morning because they're not in the same school yet. And so, those they would always really look out for Deuce and give him advice. I mean, hey, I know it's different. He's going to treat you different in a sense because so much is being instilled in you. And you have to be able to. That's not easy because they're young, they're immature too. They want to be like everybody else. Yep. I mean, my dad was a coach,
and I imagine the Jackson days weren't easy. I mean, here he is, coach's kid, young, doesn't live in the neighborhood, doesn't live near school.
Right.
He's coming as probably didn't know a lot. I guess he probably knew a lot of them from the year before being around the program.
He went to Kirby.
And he was around the program.
Right. Yes.
But still, it's never easy to be the coach's son, especially when you're pretty good.
Yeah, he's all right. And his mom's good looking. That's the big thing.
Yeah, she must be the athlete too.
The one thing that I noticed about coaching,
he's not the hiker.
The one thing I noticed about coaching kids over the years, and a lot of people, any place I've ever been in all my ventures, is the coaches' kids will gravitate to each other.
Yeah.
Because they've lived the same life. Mm-hmm. Like my daughter and her best friend Alyssa, Shelton Cruz was head coach at Godby. They met in college in a class. And before they even knew each other, and they sort of like gravitated to each other, and it was funny when they realized like we played Godby, I don't know what 08 or 09, and both of them were on the sideline.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, they're in college with each other. But all the way through, like my daughter says the whole thing, she could tell like coaches' kids when they come in the building because they just understand it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They understand it. It's really interesting.
Right. And it helps, I mean, with his recruitment also. They expect him to understand what it takes to do what they have to do. On the college level, they have to win now. And that's going to take, right now, especially with all the things that can cloud a kid's character.
Right.
Let's put it that way. Most of the time now, you got places that are just looking for good people.
Yes.
They're looking for good people to just say, hey, come in and let's go to work. And that's, to me, he was down at FIU a couple of weeks. And which was like, even that's what we look for, even with the preferred walk-ons, kids who, yeah, we're a Division I program, but we don't have the access to all the stuff that you guys think you know.
Right.
So we're just looking to bring in good people. And with that extra year, they kind of wean.
Right.
Kind of like using a 4-year program as a prep program, because they'll get that year, say, okay, no, I really want to play here.
Right.
They show it.
Right.
Yeah.
So year 2, a lot of success at Jackson.
Well, it was a lot of success, but we went through a whole lot.
Yeah, that year was an interesting year because that was my last year with you.
Yes,
right?
yes,
right, yeah,
yes. We had a couple of coaches pass.
Yeah.
One of them was Donald Rocker was a kid who, like Bubba, he grew up playing for me. I was his first coach, and man, what an impact on football. And he passed, and then we had Lynn J. Shell on staff with us, and he ended up passing
in the summer.
And it was our kids, man. It was, Coach, why is all this happening? They only understood, death through tragedy,
right?
Through, and most of the kids at Jackson, and let me say this, they're not necessarily the neighbor kids, because those kids come in through the magnet program, but a lot of them are. And it wasn't anybody to blame, so that was tough. All you could literally do is stand together. Literally, there are going to be days that kids are not going to want to practice. I look at, if you played and you knew Rocker, and he loved the big kid because he was a big man. He loved the big kid. Every kid that wears 77 that plays tackle. In the greater Jacksonville area was a kid he touched his life. And here it's been now almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's still, if it's Derek Plass, if it's Corey Ambrose, Reginald Houston, from Sandalwood, went up to Louisville. It'll hit me in a second. But it's just kids everywhere because he loved the big kid.
Right.
And he made him good. He
poured his time into him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He was only 26.
Yeah.
26 years old.
Yeah.
I remember his past. I didn't remember he was only 26.
Yeah, but Coach, that year was, and as a matter of fact, it's a big picture in my office of him and Grayson. He took Grayson to his first camp. He took him to his first camp, and Grayson, kid, upcoming junior. I remember looking at him, he was like 170 in the beginning.
Yeah, when you first got there, he was about 170.
170. You could see his motor on film. You can tell he could. But as coach, he's gonna play anyway. And then he says, he said, Grayson, just promise me we'll take a visit to North. Now, all the kids, could you imagine the kids I've seen in 10 years at Fletcher?
Right.
We had never had high profile. I mean, I coached Jamari Smith. He was a good player, but never like. And I'm like, how do you see this in this kid? And lo and behold,
yep, he was right.
Man, what you kept trying. You kept trying to get the Florida State guys.
Yep, kept trying.
Yeah, it's those two. They were like inseparable, man. That this kid has, and I didn't see it in the beginning. I just want to coach the hiker.
Right.
And then either I coach centers or I coach D-line. That was it. And he was neither one of those. He could have played them.
He could have played anything he
good
wanted.
enough to play anything he wanted.
He
Right.
could have played anything he wanted.
All right. So year 2's up. So now it's you. Oakleaf comes to you. Oakleaf. How does the next step go? Obviously, coach is gone. Coach is leaving as the AD.
Oh man, that was a lot more difficult than it seemed.
It shouldn't have been. But
It was, but that thing, it just kind of, I have nothing but great things in memory, and then the opportunity to, because I got a history with Oakleaf now. The Oakleaf has won district championship, and it was against Fletcher.
Okay.
I was on the sideline, and that's when they had Jack Quarterman and
Kid
Chris.
went to Miami.
Yes, but Jack went to Miami and
D lineman.
Chris went to now this was before Chance and then Jalen.
Yes.
But Chris went to Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they had a slew of kids who now I understand how it happens, because in Clay County, you can play together. They build community schools. You know, the junior high, I just left them this morning.
Right.
I have the opportunity to do that all day. I mean, it's the junior high is right next door. On the way to school, you can lift them and then send them to school, and so I know who I have for the next 6 years.
Right.
I mean, intimately. I mean, those are kids who they're on my campus. They lift in my weight room. They practice on my fields. Right now.
Yeah.
And
private school type setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But they stay in the same neighborhoods, which make it even sweeter.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so the opportunity, I mean, coach against Chip, you know, in my younger years and just learning, and there was some great. I mean, when you get into the tree of that Danny Green guy that was over at Orange Park, man, that's a big tree.
Yep.
And it's all done the same way.
Yep.
It's all done with the same consistency, same dynamics and structure, and so not to be so far from home, man, it was really an opportunity. And with the whole setup, I mean, it's, you know, you got a principal that's a football guy. That's out to Principal Boyack, and you know, who's just got a promotion in the county, and got a new guy from Fluent.
Yeah, from First Coast.
First Coast.
Yep.
He's a football guy too. I hadn't had a chance to really get in and talk to him, but they made sure we had, you know, you got classrooms on the field and you got 2 practice fields. You know what? We made a lot of adjustments.
Yep.
We made a lot of adjustments. It's a big difference from practicing in the outfield of a baseball diamond,
right.
which hey, let Hack tell it. It's one of the 2 best practice facilities he's ever seen. So it was just and then you know, that district last year with Bartram and Creekside and Buchholz and it was intriguing. You got to get better at it, but it was just really an opportunity that I could.
Yeah. And closer to home, like you said.
Yes.
7-minute drive.
Yes.
And 7 minutes for your son.
And the approach to football is a little different. You know, it is a 7-day-a-week job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you ain't coaching, I always tell everybody, if you ain't throwing, you're mowing. And so if you're cutting fields on the weekend, and you're lining fields, and well, Clay County, they understand and they appreciate that. You know, that's the reason why you're an 11-month employee.
Right.
Because those things continue to have to be done. That part, I'm not saying it was you know, you do it for them. No, it's the dynamics of football in Clay County it's what I like to say, just more practical. It makes sense. It is designed to bring the best opportunity.
Right.
More support?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's
best way to simplify.
Yes,
right?
it is.
More support
from the top,
right.
From the top to the bottom. It's more support.
Yeah, smaller county, so it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier, and you know, rural community for the most part.
Yes.
So football is a priority.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Clay County in the Northeast Florida area is as close to South Georgia, as we can get.
Okay.
You know,
That's fair. Yep.
With the type of schools that you have.
Buddy.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
it's not there now. I'm not saying it's there, but it has potential to be there.
And that was one of my last year. We went up to Brunswick, and we played Brunswick when they like in the top 50 in the country. That was the game.
Cool stadium.
Coach, he scored the first time and I started when it started.
You got excited.
Hey, about as excited as Coach. You ever coached at Madison?
No, never been there.
Been to
Coach,
Boot
I've
Hill?
seen a game there. I've been to Boot Hill. I've been there.
You played at Boot Hill?
Mm-hmm.
So you were there with the horse?
Mm-hmm.
Coach. My team is about. I'm jumping up. Their team. It's coming up. Coach, they run out and they run to their goalpost.
Right.
And all of a sudden, this cowboy comes out on a horse. And they tell you back up because he's going to circle the field twice. Shooting his cap guns. And, Coach, I'm like, and the crowd is going crazy.
Right.
And we're like.
And everybody in town's there.
Everybody, yep.
Everybody. Coach, it was a venue, man. It was. So we played them in the spring. Hey, Price, he said we don't do it for the spring game. That was a great venue, man.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Awesome.
But that's the way it is in South Georgia. I mean, it was almost like a coach. I had never played college games or something like that, man. That was fun.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
When we played there, they had, they ran the wing tee back then. I think McPherson was the coach back then. And maroon jerseys, dark footballs. You couldn't find the ball to save your life on defense. You never know who had it. I mean, they carried out the fakes, and there's no telling. They'd bust out 40 yards later. You finally figure it out.
And they run everything to their sideline.
Yeah, they did.
Everything to their sideline.
That's it.
They put you in a closet, and literally, and coach.
And physical.
Coach, it was one time Deuce came. He was iced. I mean, just schedule this game so close to it. Coach, it took a couple of days. For us to,
I'm sure.
It's like a boxing match.
I'm sure.
So, what's next at Oakleaf? Like, what's your goal? Where are you headed? What do you need?
State championship.
Yeah,
it's got to be. I mean, we have the resources. We have the community support. We have the kids. Without a doubt, that's got to be the goal. And it's got to be the goal this year.
Right.
I mean, we're solid in every position. And we know even with that don't necessarily answer all the questions because. Right. But the special thing is these guys love each other. They really do. They love each other, and that's the special. That's the special play call I got right now is the relationships that they have with one another. Right. Across the board.
And they had success together in middle school, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Middle school program. Because Coach ended up getting the Ridgeview job, right?
Coach Smith.
Yeah, Coach Smith did a good job with that.
Oh, yeah. He's in every sport.
Yeah.
Right.
Every sport. Yes, and they grew up together, and they love that community, man. They are Oakleaf kids.
Right.
And their parents are Oakleaf parents, and so it's man, we have a very nice. I mean, I can remember when we got to Jackson, and we were just trying to get enough. Year two, enough people don't talk about year two, do they, Coach? When we get look, if we continue to play the schedule we play, we're not gonna have bankrupt. We're not gonna have money to have to.
Right.
And so we got to pick up. We weren't playing Reigns at the time.
Right.
We weren't playing Reball. We weren't playing Lee or Riverside.
Right.
We weren't playing any of those games at the time, and so we had to step up again, and let's fight a little bit. We're gonna take some butt kickings, but
you gotta pay the bills.
Gotta pay the bills.
By the next year, we beat all of them.
Yeah,
and
gotta pay Baker Sports. You gotta pay your Baker Sports.
Yes, you do. You gotta pay Bakers, and Coach, it was those kids they play very well, and they win the Clay County championship. But, that's a junior high concept. So they got to get out of the county.
Right.
And so it's like playing Bradford last year. Oh.
Yeah.
What? Who the same way. They all grown up.
Yep.
And they play deep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, one thing I will say. Very rarely I look on somebody else's sideline and say, very well.
Yep.
Right.
Very well. I mean, when you go to a Bowls game, there's very few. You don't sit there.
Right.
You know how those kids are coached.
Right.
It's the structure. It's and if you talk to, I talked with Richard Garrett just last week.
Mm-hmm.
Richard's engaged, and
Oh, that's
he's,
great.
he's becoming a man, Coach.
He's at Western Carolina.
He's at Western Carolina, and it comes to us what the Jackson basketball program has always been
elite athletes.
Yes, and he's 6'5", 160. Crying. And I got cut. Guys who on the team are like, we got to go to practice. And crying. I'm like, give me 1.
Coming to practice.
Just give me 1 year and get in. But they all have a story.
Right.
They all have a story that is it's very and not to say that, like I said, Cedric was a hardworking guy, but very few. Coach, I don't know other than James Collins of guys who in this area that was that
Right.
elite. Maybe the guy you had went to Georgia.
Leon.
No. Well, Leon, but see, Leon didn't have all. He wasn't very big, and
Right.
These guys.
Oh,
had,
you're talking about Derek Owens?
Yeah, Deal. Deal was. He was,
Yeah,
and
Deal.
Marquell was different.
Yeah, they were different.
They kind of fit the mold.
Yeah.
But very rarely you find kids like could supersede the quantitative measurements and do well. Those kids have a story, man, and the best way for those stories to be told is in structure.
Right. Yeah. Now, we only got a few minutes left, but I do want to talk about the father-son relationship as a coach and how that's progressed over, because he's a senior now, right? Deuce is going into a senior year.
Yes, he is.
4 years with dad.
Yes.
2 different schools. I mean, I gotta be knowing Deuce a little bit, being around him. He's almost like a player coach at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have the same offensive coordinator I had from Jackson
Right.
with Devin and Bubba,
Right.
and so he knows it. But it's kind of we never take it home. My wife don't let us take it home. She does not allow us to take, and she is the biggest fan. But she does not. We're at the table. We're at the table. We kind of do we use the kind of the Dion model. We take the 40-yard walk before the game, 20 yards down, away from the goal line, to just be his dad. Talk about the girlfriend. Talk about, hey man, math teachers contact me. It's things that have you gotten this done yet? Because he's graduating in December. But then when we go back, that's when it's player coach.
Right.
And so that way we kind of keep it all in perspective. He's what a man he's become. He's our only returning captain this year, and with our program, the captains are player elected. So he's a leader amongst his people. I'm proud of him.
Should be.
You should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
Heck of a player and heck of a kid.
Yeah.
And so I think we're all three excited to see what he can do at the next level.
Yes.
Where he ends up and how he does. So, Coach, I appreciate everything, man.
Oh man, thank you for having me.
I love hearing the stories between you and Sully, and
We got a few more.
Yeah, we do.
I'm sure we do. And now, hold up, before we go, did he take on Thursdays the best day of the week, or did he work? He worked a full 7 days, and you only worked 6.5.
Yes.
I don't think. Well, how do you figure you work 6.5?
Because Thursday in the afternoon, we went to the bar. So we did.
He cut practice short.
Coaches went to the bar. We cut it short a little bit. A walk-through day, hour and a half.
The Hayes in the barn.
And the hay, you know about the Hayes in the barn?
Hayes
That's
in the
old
barn.
Kevin Sullivan.
Thursday
Back
afternoon.
up the truck. Don't ask how big the load. But Coach, the thing is, I couldn't because of the dad role.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Because of the dad role, and the differences were during that time. When the guys left on Thursday, I was cutting the field.
Right.
So I didn't have it quite as you had.
Your AD didn't do it.
I had
for
a
you.
staff. We had
You
9
had a
guys in.
staff
We had
that-
9 guys in the building the last few years.
Coach, I think right now you can take those. I saw Coach Mack. Couldn't have been a week ago.
Right.
With that nice car.
Oh no.
He's got a nice car. But you could take that staff today, and in 6 weeks, they'll make any program competitive.
We should do it like Bar Rescue, that TV show Bar
That's
Rescue.
funny.
Yeah.
Just be program rescue, send you guys around.
Oh, Coach, that would be.
That's
Hey,
funny.
You think it's a coach shortage now in Duval, that happened, it would be
it's
coach.
crazy.
It's they coach. It's just their approach to everything. It was they were together, and they would never, you know. And we were getting there. Certain things that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, Coach, man, good luck this season.
Appreciate it,
Wish
Coach.
you luck. Thanks for joining us, and
Yes,
you know, we could go on and on for 2-3 hours, but we do appreciate it. So, almost forgot. One thing we always ended on this question.
Mm-hmm.
One thing now, as an experienced head coach, you could tell yourself year one or tell our first year coach. One thing that you've learned.
Trust your staff.
Delegate.
Not just delegate. Well, listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, meet, communicate. You know, I was at the middle school and they hired this young, you know, vibrant, just played college football coach when that's not the usual person in middle school.
Right.
It's kind of just a school that they assigned a position to. And so, you know, in the early days, no one knew as much. No one, I want to do it this way. This is how my coach did it. And you know, listen, that you put yourself around people who care about your program because they care about you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Congratulations, Will.
Awesome.
Thanks
Coach.
again for joining us.
coming.
Yes, sir.
Good luck this season, and we'll catch in with you later.
Yes, sir.